Welcome everyone to another episode of r/EntitledPeople. Hope you're all doing awesome. Let's see what kind of entitlement we'll be reading about today. In the first one, someone going around trying to get donations for a church freaks out at OP for not responding to her. In the second one, a Karen completely blows up when someone dares drink alcohol near her. And the last one is about someone that's completely incapable of comprehending how Grubhub works. And before we jump in, this thick AF corgi would like to remind you that if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe. This one's called Church Volunteer Thinks She's Entitled to My Voice. Two disclaimers before I start. I am the a-hole of this situation, and this was years ago. I'm not a Christian, so I don't know much about the churches and what the vibe is like being part of one. But this one time, when I was riding the New York subway, this lady and her friends walks into my car, and she says, "Good morning," like one of those no-nonsense middle school teachers who expect you to say it back. I didn't know who she thought she was or what she thought I was, but I immediately got a negative attitude from her. When I'm in public, if I don't need to engage with people, I take my glasses off. My prescription isn't that high, I can still see bodies and cars, but I can't see faces, which means that I don't inadvertently make eye contact with people, which to me basically means that I'm alone. When I take my glasses off, I just shut down. I don't see people, I don't hear words, and I don't speak. I blend into the background. On this subway ride, I was standing with one arm around a standing pole. At some point, this church woman did this whole speech about how she's collecting donations for her fringe church, and she and her friends started going around with bags to collect money. She asked every single person for money, and when she got to me, I said nothing. Most people reacted to her in some way, but I just kept standing there. See, if I don't have a reason to say words, and there are no consequences for me not saying words, I just don't say words. I'll look at you, but my lips are in their resting state. Zero reaction. She got all up in my face like, spare some change for insert the name of some forgettable church. And when I didn't say anything, she started with, "Hello? Hello? Excuse me? I'm talking to you, sir. Can you spare change? What's with you? Answer me." And she just berated me like this for a whole 4 minutes before she gave up. At no point did it cross her head that there might have been a valid reason for me not reacting. What if I didn't speak the language? What if I was mute? What if I was deaf? What if I just didn't want to talk to her? Like it was such a serious thing for her to get this donation from me, or the disrespect of not being responded to was so high she had to escalate. You are not entitled to my voice, woman. I can choose not to speak to you, and there's nothing you can do. Would it have been better if I did say something? Yes, it's always going to be better, but if you do what everybody tells you to do, that doesn't mean you have to. Now, at the risk of sounding like an a-hole myself, I personally don't think OP was the a-hole of this situation. He makes a very valid point. If there's really no need to interact or talk with people, then you're really not obligated to just because you're in public. There's a million reasons why someone might not want to or might not be able to respond to someone, or even react to someone for that matter. And for this person to just assume that OP needed to and was obligated to respond to her is just too much to ask of some random stranger in public, in my opinion. I think after 2 seconds of OP not responding, she should have just moved on and not made a big deal out of it. Call me a jerk for thinking that, but OP does make some pretty good points. This one's titled, "How Dare You Drink That Near Me?" From 2011 to 2014, I worked as an onboard host on London-bound trains in the UK. An onboard host is the person who serves drinks and food on trains. I did this from a trolley, and I wheeled back and forth down the train. It's like working a retail job, only you're dragging your shop along behind you, and there's no manager or security guard. Just you, the conductor who has nothing to do with you, the driver, and possibly 900 passengers. As you can imagine, in the years I worked there, I saw some weird and wonderful things. I saw a lot of Karens from all walks of life. Here's one that really sticks out though. It's midsummer and hot as hell. Everything has gone wrong today. It's a Sunday, and due to the heat, several trains have broken down, so for the last few hours, every train has been packed with people. For the most part, everyone has been in a decent enough mood, except entitled Karen. It's my last train of the day, and every seat is full, even first class. I've made my target for the day, and I'm looking forward to going home. I pass through the first 3 carriages, and as I'm about to enter the 4th, I can hear someone near enough shouting in there. It's the quiet carriage, so yeah, not supposed to be loud enough that I can hear them through the 2 doors. I get in there, and there's an older woman yelling at someone across the aisle. It's not my responsibility to deal with this stuff, but I have to walk through whether I like it or not, so off I go. "Good afternoon, would anyone like a drink or snack?" I said. "You! I demand you throw him off the train this instant!" Karen points at the poor man who seems to be doing his best to ignore her. "May I ask what's wrong?" I said. "He's drinking a beer. That's illegal," Karen replied. In a way, she's right. At the time, the train bylaw stated that you couldn't drink alcohol you hadn't purchased on the train. Kinda like not being able to bring your own beer into a bar. However, it wasn't something that anyone really cared about. As long as you're not drunk and bothering other people, then enjoy your drink. I'm afraid that's not true, ma'am, I said. It is. It's illegal to drink on trains, said Karen. Me pointing to the 14+ beers and little bottles of spirits I have for sale, I said, I'm afraid that's not true. Alcohol is allowed as long as you're responsible about it. But, Karen stammered. Are you alright, sir? I asked the poor man. And he responded, I just opened my beer and she got angry. I worked all day and I just wanted a drink. The poor man looks like he's had a rough day. Karen goes on, I can smell it and it's offensive. I demand that you remove that horrid stuff immediately. Ma'am, I can't take his drink. That would be stealing. Then kick him off. Alcoholics are disgusting. Wags her finger at me. You shouldn't be selling that stuff. You're no better than a drug dealer. The only thing I can do is suggest you change carriages, I said. This was the only seat left. Get me your manager. My manager is in London. I can give you a customer service number if you want, but either way, this man is well within his rights to drink his beer. How dare you? Give me your name. I'm going to make sure you get the sack. What's going on here? The conductor said. I jump a little as I didn't hear the conductor come in behind me, but I'm so happy to see him. I work for a contractor, not the train company, so he's not my boss or even a coworker, really. Entitled Karen, however, seems to think differently, and a wicked smile appears on her face. This man is assaulting me, and she's helping, said Karen. The passengers around her, who have been desperately trying to look like they can't hear, start shuffling and grumbling. I have no idea how she was going to prove assault with 70+ witnesses and CCTV. Sir, said the conductor to the poor man. The poor man responds, I was just sitting here and this lunatic starts yelling at me over nothing. I say, that's true. They're lying, Karen said. Conductor just sighs and says, can I see your tickets, please? The poor man hands over his ticket. All good. Entitled Karen gives hers after a big performance of getting it out of her bag. The conductor's face lights up. He then says, OP, you should get on. I'll handle it from here. Sure, I responded. I trundle off with my trolley and make sure I'm out of the way for the next stop. As the doors open, I can hear a familiar voice yelling and cursing. I peek out to see Entitled Karen being hustled off the train. She's on the wrong train, going in entirely the wrong direction. She's yelling how it's our fault and we should make the train turn around and take her where she wants to go. Every threat in an Entitled Karen's arsenal is coming out of her mouth at top volume, but the conductor just blows his whistle and shuts the doors in her face. I never saw her again, but I do like to think she's still there, screaming at the sky that the train should do what she wants because she said so. And she probably is and will be for the end of time, cursing about how the train didn't magically make a U-turn on its tracks. Because it's definitely the train's fault that she got on the wrong one. This sounds like one of those situations where someone realizes how wrong they are, and they have one of two choices. Either to just own up to their mistake and just move on with it, or to just stick with it and continue to rage and babble on about something that you already realized you're wrong about. All because you don't have the humility to admit your mistake. She chose the latter. And this one's called, Entitled Woman Doesn't Know How Grubhub Works. This was back before Grubhub and Uber Eats became more popular due to the pandemic. I was waiting in line at a Starbucks that had just started using Grubhub, and I was waiting to order when the entitled woman burst through the doors and immediately tried to push her way to the front of the line. Luckily, several people at the back wouldn't let her through, and she finally gave up trying to get through the line. But after, she decided the best way to get the staff's attention was to go to the counter where you pick up your drinks and try to get the girl who was making the drinks attention. She kept trying to ask questions, and finally the girl explained that she was busy and that entitled woman would have to wait until the guy working the register could help her, or she could get back in line and wait. So entitled woman decided she would sit down where she stayed for less than a minute before she went back to the pickup counter trying to ask questions. At this point, I had ordered and the line was shorter, so the guy working the register came over to entitled woman and asked what he could help with. And the woman began asking where her drink was, to which the guy told her she hadn't ordered in line, and he didn't know what she meant. She then began to explain that she had used the app to order a drink, and he asked if she meant Grubhub, and that she would just have to wait to hear the name on the order called out, to which she freaked out and said she had ordered the drink, and why wasn't it ready? At this point, everybody just wanted her out, so the guy went and looked at the orders they had received. He asked her if any were her name, and she said no, so he asked her to double check the order she sent in. And she got mad because, how dare you say I don't know what I'm doing? And he asked if he could just see the order receipt, and he noticed and pointed out that she was at the wrong Starbucks, and they didn't even have an order from her. You would think she would just leave, but no. She started to berate the employees because you should have my order. Finally, another customer explained that when you order, it goes to a certain location, and you have to go to that location and not just any one you want. The woman finally got fed up enough that she stormed out. I really hope she never got her coffee at all. How could anyone possibly think it works like that? In this day and age, there's really not much of an excuse to not know how stuff like this works when it's as simple as just Googling it. But I guess with someone like this, expecting them to Google something is probably also too much to ask for. And that was r/EntitledPeople. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, consider dropping a like and subscribe to join the party. Thanks for hanging out, all you beautiful people, and I'll see you next time.